Have you ever felt like you didn't fit in? Like you didn't belong? Like you were left out? I think we all know middle school can be one of the hardest places to fit in. There's something about being around new groups of people that can make our differences seem really obvious. Suddenly, the whole world feels divided into two groups, us and them. And no matter which side you land on, whether you're in us or you're them, you've longed to be on the other side. Because there's something in all of us that really wants to belong.
But if we all want to feel like we belong, why is it still so difficult to come together? Why does bringing together us and them feel so impossible? I mean, just think about your school and almost everything you do and everything you're a part of. You're divided from people who are different than you in one way or another. You're divided by ages into different grades and by bus routes based on where you live. You're divided onto different teams based on things like ability and gender. You're divided into different friend groups based on things like style, interests, or status.
Right now, you are in school with other groups of people who are close to your same age, learning the same things you are learning and going through so many of the same experiences you are. And yet somehow you are still divided by your differences. And that makes connecting with those who are different than you even more difficult.
Sometimes it's hard to find things in common with people who you think may be different from you, right? The truth is that we don't always realize how much we have in common with those we see as different. Why? Because we don't need to. We already have friends that we have plenty in common with. Maybe all of your friends like to watch the same Netflix shows, or play the same instruments, or skateboard at the same park. Whatever it is, I bet that there's something that all of your friends have in common. And that can be a great thing. Of course we should have friends that we have a lot in common with.
What I'm saying is this. When the only people we want to be around are people who are just like us, we have a problem. Because before we know it, being around people similar to ourselves becomes normal. And you know what else becomes normal? Not being around those who are different than us. Maybe we even start to avoid people that we think are different than us. Why? Because we only feel comfortable around people who like the same things that we like, who are as popular as we are, who look like we do. In other words, we're only comfortable around people who are just like us. And here's the really bad news. Unfortunately, the church isn't always that much different. In fact, sometimes it feels like the biggest distance between us and them is at church.
Think about it. Maybe there's someone here right now that you wish wasn't because of the differences between the two of you. Maybe it's someone from school who ignores you or treats you badly. Or maybe it's someone that you ignore or don't treat very well outside the walls of this church. Maybe it's someone who you think doesn't belong at church because you know their behavior doesn't seem to line up with the things we talk about each week. Or maybe it's someone from a different small group, or someone from a different part of town, or someone brand new to your youth ministry. It could even be someone that has a different skin color, or comes from a different religious background, or speaks a different language than you. For whatever reason, to you, they are different. And being different is what keeps you divided.
But I think church is supposed to be different. In fact, I think that love, acceptance, and togetherness are supposed to be what makes places like church feel different than anywhere else. At least that's how I want our church to feel.
I want this to be a place where everyone can come together. Over the next few weeks, we're going to look at different parts of the Bible that tell us all about what the first churches and Christians were like. About 2,000 years ago, a guy named Luke wrote down the experiences that he had as a part of one of the very first churches. And today, those writings are what we call the book of Acts.
From the very beginning, Luke believed that the Christian church was meant to be a place where everyone could find something in common with each other. In other words, the church was meant to be a place where people came together. In fact, this is what Christians were really good at when the whole church thing got started. Look at how Luke described them. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles.
From the very beginning, Christians were committed to doing some things together regularly. They spent time learning more about Jesus together, they enjoyed eating together, who doesn't, and they prayed together. And God did some pretty incredible things through their group when they were together. Sounds pretty normal, right?
Let's look at how Luke went on. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people.
Whoa, you are telling me that a group of people had everything in common? They shared the same stuff that they worked hard for? They cared for one another like family? And they were glad that they got to spend so much time together? Like everyone outside of the church actually liked everyone inside of the church?
That sounds impossible to us today, but that's exactly what Luke said the first Christians and the first churches were like. They were a group of adults, teenagers, and kids who consistently chose to come together in spite of differences that could have divided them. Any person who chose to join the early church felt like they belonged with every person that was already there. And what's more, any person who wasn't a part of the church still liked every person who was.
How did that happen? Well, I think it's because the people of the early church knew this truth. Together, we are better. They had plenty of things that could have divided them, but they chose to focus instead on what united them. Their belief in Jesus was their common ground. And just look at what happened because of how the first Christians came together. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved.
God used their unity to grow their community. As the church continued to grow and Christianity started to spread, people from all over the world who seemed to have very little in common with each other joined this community of believers because they knew it was a place where anyone could belong. That's because the leaders in the early church created a place where everyone felt welcomed, wanted, and accepted. And that's exactly what we have the potential to do too. We have the chance to make church a place where we believe that together we are better.
So what if we chose to believe that this is still possible for the church today? What if our youth ministry could be a place where all people felt like they mattered? What if we chose to be a group of people who crossed the divide between us and them? What if we really believed that together we are better?
I think it's possible. Our belief in Jesus can still be the common ground that unites us, no matter who we are or where we come from. And for those of you who are questioning your faith in Jesus or haven't quite decided what you believe, that's okay. You're welcome here too. I know that all of us in this room can come together and make everyone feel like they belong, no matter where they are right now in their faith.
And it starts with taking some action. Maybe you can make an effort to talk to someone in your youth ministry that most people don't talk to. Maybe you can simply go out of your way to say hello to someone you've never seen here before. Maybe you can even invite someone from another small group to sit next to you. Or maybe you can even invite someone from school to join you here next week.
Whatever it is, imagine how amazing it would be if we all decided to take one small step toward togetherness this week. Imagine how cool it would be to say that our church was a place that believed that together we are better.
I want us to be the type of church Jesus originally intended for us to be. A church that is at its best when its people stick together no matter what. So as you head out, I want you to think about this question. What's one thing that I can do to help people feel welcome in our youth ministry?